What if the biggest reason you're not making money in the market has nothing to do with your strategy? Think about that for a moment. Every day, thousands of traders stare at the same charts, watch the same price movements, and search for the perfect setup. Yet only a small number consistently walk away with profits. The difference isn't hidden inside the market, it's hidden inside the mind. The market doesn't force you to chase, it doesn't make you panic. It doesn't convince you to hold a losing trade or exit a winning one too early. Those decisions are born long before you click the buy or sell button. They begin with the beliefs you carry, the emotions you never question, and the habits you repeat without even realizing it. In this video, you're not going to discover another shortcut or secret indicator. You're going to uncover something far more valuable, a way of thinking that can completely change how you see risk, uncertainty, discipline, and success. You'll begin by exposing the invisible mental patterns that quietly keep traders trapped in the same cycle of hope and disappointment. Then you'll discover the shift that allows uncertainty to stop feeling like a threat and start becoming an advantage. From there, you'll learn how fear, greed, impatience, and overconfidence silently take control of your decisions. And more importantly, how to take that control back. And when those pieces finally come together, you'll reach the final breakthrough that transforms trading from an emotional battle into a process built on clarity, consistency, and confidence. Because lasting success isn't created by predicting every move. It's created by becoming the kind of person who can make great decisions no matter what the market does next. If you're ready to build that mindset, take a second to like this video and subscribe to the channel, because we're exploring the psychology behind consistent trading success in ways that most people never stop to consider. And make sure you stay with me until the final chapter, because that's where everything connects. It's the lesson that separates traders who spend years chasing profits from those who quietly build them. And once you truly understand it, you'll never look at another trade the same way again. Chapter 1. Why most traders stay broke before they ever lose money. Imagine two traders opening the exact same chart at the exact same moment. They see the same candles, the same support and resistance levels, and the same opportunity forming in front of them. Yet a few hours later, one trader is calm, disciplined, and satisfied with the result, while the other is frustrated, blaming the market for another painful loss. What changed? Not the chart, not the market. The difference was the mind behind the trade. Most people believe they lose money because they don't know enough. They spend months searching for better indicators, more accurate strategies, or someone else's winning setup. They keep telling themselves that the next system will finally solve everything, but every new strategy only hides the real problem for a little while. Sooner or later, the same mistakes return. They enter too early. They exit too late. They ignore their own rules. They revenge trade after a loss. They become overconfident after a win. The strategy changes. The behavior doesn't. That's because trading is one of the few activities where your mind is exposed every single day. The market acts like a mirror. It doesn't create your fear, it reveals it. It doesn't create your impatience, it simply gives it a place to appear. Think about someone standing in front of a mirror with a stain on their shirt. They can blame the mirror all they want, but the reflection isn't the problem. The stain was already there. The market works the same way. Every trade reflects your beliefs, your habits, and your emotional reactions. If those reactions are driven by fear, doubt, or the desperate need to be right, no strategy can protect you for long. Here's something most traders never realize. They aren't trading to make money. They're trading to prove something. They want to prove they're smart. They want to prove they can predict the market. They want to prove they were right. The moment your goal becomes being right instead of managing risk, every losing trade feels personal. Instead of accepting a small loss, your ego begins negotiating with reality. You hold the position a little longer. You move your stop loss. You hope instead of acting. And hope is one of the most expensive emotions in trading. Professional traders don't see a losing trade as proof that they failed. They see it as one outcome in a game of probabilities. They understand that a good decision can still produce a bad result, just as a bad decision can sometimes produce a lucky win. That single realization changes everything. Because once you stop measuring your success by individual trades, You begin measuring it by the quality of your decisions. And that's where real confidence is born, not from winning, but from trusting your process even when the outcome is uncertain. This is the first transformation every successful trader must make. Before you can build consistency, you must stop fighting the market and start understanding the person making the decisions. Because the greatest battle has never been between you and the chart. It has always been between your emotions and your discipline. And once you recognize that invisible battle, you're finally ready for the next breakthrough, learning how uncertainty, the very thing most traders fear, can become your greatest advantage instead of your biggest enemy. Chapter 2. The mindset shift that turns uncertainty into opportunity. Picture yourself placing a trade with complete confidence, not because you know what will happen next, but because you no longer need to know. For most people, that idea sounds impossible. The human mind craves certainty. It wants guarantees before taking action. It wants proof that the next decision will end well. In everyday life, that instinct often protects us, but in trading, it quietly becomes one of the biggest reasons people fail. Every time you enter a position, your brain begins asking the same question. What if I'm wrong? That single question creates hesitation. You wait for one more confirmation. You miss the entry. Then price moves exactly as expected, and suddenly fear transforms into regret. You chase the move at the worst possible moment, just as the market begins to reverse. The loss didn't begin when you clicked the button. It began the moment you demanded certainty from something that can never provide it. Here's the truth that changes everything. The market owes you nothing. It doesn't reward confidence. It doesn't punish fear. It simply moves. Sometimes it follows your expectations. Sometimes it completely ignores them. And that's perfectly normal. Imagine a professional poker player sitting at a table. They know they can make the right decision and still lose a hand. Yet they don't slam the cards on the table or abandon their strategy after one unlucky outcome. They understand that success is built over hundreds and thousands of hands, not one. Trading works the same way. Each trade is only one event, one possibility, one small piece of a much larger story. The moment you truly accept this, something remarkable happens. Pressure begins to disappear. You stop trying to predict every candle. You stop searching for the perfect entry. You stop believing that every trade has to be a winner. Instead, your attention shifts towards something you can actually control. Preparation, risk management, execution, consistency. These become your new definition of success. Think about a skilled pilot flying through changing weather. The pilot doesn't argue with the storm or expect clear skies every day. They trust their instruments, follow their training, and make disciplined decisions regardless of the conditions. A disciplined trader does exactly the same. They don't need perfect markets. They need a reliable process. That's why uncertainty isn't your enemy. It's the environment where disciplined thinking creates an advantage. Most traders spend years trying to eliminate uncertainty. The best traders learn to become comfortable inside it. That comfort creates patience. Patience creates discipline. Discipline creates consistency. And consistency creates results that luck can never produce. But here's where the journey becomes even more challenging. Accepting uncertainty doesn't automatically silence your emotions. Fear still whispers. Greed still tempts. Confidence can quickly become arrogance. One unexpected loss can awaken old habits you thought had disappeared forever. The market has a strange way of testing every lesson you've learned. And unless you understand the invisible emotions operating beneath every decision, they'll continue pulling the strings without you even noticing. That's why the next chapter isn't about finding better trades. It's about discovering the hidden psychological forces that quietly control every trade you take, and learning how to become the one who controls them instead. Chapter 3. Mastering Fear, Greed, and the Invisible Habits that Control Every Trade. Imagine waking up one morning and discovering that the market has never been your greatest opponent. Your greatest opponent has been the voice inside your own head. It's the voice that tells you to enter just a little earlier because you don't want to miss the move. It's the voice that whispers, "Hold a little longer, it will come back." And after a winning streak, it's the same voice that convinces you you're finally unstoppable. The market doesn't speak. Your emotions do. Most traders believe fear and greed suddenly appear during a trade, but they don't. They are built quietly over time through repeated habits and unconscious beliefs. Every emotional decision leaves a small footprint in your mind. Repeat it often enough, and that footprint becomes a road your brain follows automatically. That's why breaking bad trading habits feels so difficult. Your mind isn't making a fresh decision. It's repeating a familiar pattern. Think about driving home after a long day. Sometimes you arrive without remembering every turn you made. Your brain followed a habit instead of making conscious choices. Trading works the same way. If your habit is chasing breakouts, you'll chase them almost automatically. If your habit is moving stop losses, you'll find a reason to move them every time. If your habit is taking profits too early, your finger will reach the exit button before your plan has a chance to work. The chart changes, the habit stays the same. Now consider something even more surprising. Fear doesn't always look like panic. Sometimes fear disguises itself as caution. You tell yourself you're waiting for more confirmation, when in reality you're afraid of being wrong. Greed doesn't always look like taking huge risks. Sometimes it appears as refusing to close a profitable trade because you can't stop imagining how much more money you could make. Even perfectionism can become a hidden form of fear. You keep searching for the perfect setup because accepting an imperfect trade means accepting uncertainty. Every emotion has a disguise, and unless you recognize it, it quietly takes control of your decisions. Professional traders don't eliminate emotions. They're human. They still feel excitement. They still feel disappointment. They still feel pressure. The difference is that they don't allow emotions to become instructions. There's a powerful gap between feeling something and acting on it. Inside that gap lives discipline. Imagine a surgeon performing a difficult operation. Stress is present, pressure is real, but the surgeon doesn't suddenly ignore years of training because emotions become stronger. They return to the process they trust. Trading demands the same mindset. When fear appears, follow the process. When greed appears, follow the process. When confidence grows after several wins, follow the process. The process becomes stronger than the emotion. Over time, something incredible begins to happen. You stop reacting. You start responding. You stop chasing. You start waiting. You stop hoping. You start trusting. And those small shifts slowly build a completely different identity. Not someone who occasionally makes good trades, but someone who consistently makes good decisions. Because every profitable trader is first a disciplined thinker. Profit simply becomes the natural result of that identity. But there's one final piece that ties everything together, an invisible foundation that keeps discipline strong even during losing streaks, protects confidence without creating arrogance, and allows consistency to survive when emotions try to take over. That's the breakthrough that separates temporary success from lasting success, and it's where the journey truly reaches its destination. Chapter 4. Building an unbreakable trading psychology that creates long-term wealth. Imagine looking at your trading account after a losing trade and feeling absolutely nothing. No anger, no panic, no urge to win the money back. Just quiet acceptance, followed by one simple question. Did I follow my process? For most traders, that sounds impossible, but this is the final transformation. The goal is not to become emotionless. The goal is to become process-driven. This is where the journey comes full circle. In the beginning, you believed the market was the problem. Then you discovered that your thoughts shaped your decisions. You learned that uncertainty isn't something to fear. You uncovered how invisible habits silently controlled your actions. Now it's time to build a mindset that remains steady no matter what the market decides to do tomorrow. Think about a lighthouse standing in the middle of a violent storm. The waves crash, the wind howls, the rain never stops. Yet the lighthouse doesn't chase the waves. It doesn't fight the storm. It simply stands where it was built to stand. That is the mindset every successful trader develops. The market will always be unpredictable. News will surprise you. Trades will fail. Winning streaks will come. Losing streaks will come too. But your identity should remain unchanged, because consistency is not created by consistent markets. It is created by consistent behavior. Here's where many traders unknowingly sabotage themselves. After a profitable month, they begin believing they've mastered the market. Confidence slowly transforms into carelessness. Position sizes become larger. Rules become optional. Patience disappears because success creates the illusion that mistakes no longer matter. Ironically, some of the biggest losses happen immediately after the biggest wins, not because the strategy stopped working, because discipline quietly disappeared. The opposite is equally dangerous. After several losses, traders begin doubting everything. They abandon a proven system after only a handful of trades. They search for another strategy, another mentor, another indicator, convinced the answer must exist somewhere else. But the problem was never the system. The problem was expecting certainty from a game built on probability. Long-term success belongs to the trader who can remain the same person in both victory and defeat. Someone who respects risk after a win. Someone who trusts the process after a loss. Someone who understands that one trade means almost nothing, but thousands of disciplined decisions can completely change a life. Picture two people planting identical trees. One digs the hole, waters it for a week, and quits because nothing seems to happen. The other continues watering it day after day, month after month, even when there is no visible growth. Years later, only one enjoys the shade. Trading follows the same law. The market rewards consistency long before it rewards brilliance. Every disciplined decision is like watering that tree. You may not notice the growth today. You may not notice it next week, but your future self will. And one day you'll realize something extraordinary. You no longer need motivation to trade well. You no longer need perfect emotions to make good decisions. Discipline has become your default. Patience has become your advantage. Confidence has become quiet instead of loud. That is the true meaning of trading psychology. It isn't about controlling the market. It isn't about predicting every move. It's about becoming the kind of person who can thrive in uncertainty without losing control of yourself. Because the traders who build lasting wealth don't conquer the market. They conquer the mind that enters it. And once that happens, every chart becomes less of a battlefield and more of an opportunity.